Hey Debbie, welcome to the MasterCard Cup. Just want to give you an opportunity here to view your swing at regular speed. We'll let that play on through. We'll put you back in your dress position, and we'll go ahead and take a look at a few things for you. So while we got you back here in your setup, let's first of all just take a look at your posture. So lower spine is reasonably pretty straight here and on a tilt. Legs come down into a nicely unlocked position. Arms hang down a little bit in towards you, and then the club works out to the ball. So if I were going to work on your golf game, we would revise this posture just a little bit. We try and get your tail out and up a little bit while pushing your sternum out, up, and forward. What that's going to do is just going to straighten your spine more. It's also going to put it on a little bit more of an angle. From there, it might take your legs from being a little bit bent to just now an unlocked position, which is more ideal. Then your arms can hang down and slightly in front of you a little bit more naturally, and then the golf club can work out to the ball. So taking you from this sort of red position that's sort of a bit sitting, spine's a little tall, arms are a little close to you, to something that is achieving a little bit better spinal axis, a little bit more freedom with your arms away from your core. Would be ideal, and it's also going to be a little bit more athletic ready with the balls on with the weight on the balls of the feet. Okay. From here, we can also just go ahead and take a look at your alignment. We can see your feet running in this direction here. Carry that out towards the intended target. Theoretically, club face is supposed to run parallel to your feet. Parallel lines on camera would have an appearance to converge, and with that philosophy in mind, you're sort of set up right down the right side of the fairway, so not too bad there as well. Let's go ahead and do a little split screen comparison between you and Chella Choi. I've got some color-coded lines on the screen just to use as a visual reference as it pertains to swing plane. So before we go ahead and take a look at the dynamic move, let's just pay attention to the posture I was talking about. So you can see that, her legs aren't as bent. The tail is out a little bit more. Sternum's out and forward, the spine's a little straighter and on a little bit more of an angle, and then the arms, her hands are definitely further away from her legs. So a little fine tuning there would be ideal for you. Okay, alignment's quite similar. Now, as we take a look at the golf swing, there's a few primary things that we're looking for. We want to initiate our takeaway by obviously turning our shoulders, drawing our arms and hands back, as well as the golf club. And we want the golf club coming back along the red line on plane. Also in the early stages of the golf swing, what we want to do is we want to incorporate some good wrist hinge into play, which is going to transition the club head currently from below and in front of our hands to getting that club head now above and behind our hands, as we can see right here. Okay, very important move in the transition of the takeaway. From here, we're now going to work the club from red up towards the blue-yellow V zone. And when we finally set the club at the top of the backswing, we're pretty much looking to have the left arm of the golf club situated on the yellow line or somewhere within that blue yellow V area. Okay. We also want to have full shoulder rotation. We want to do this hopefully with good arm extension, keeping arms away from our core. As we've already discussed, good wrist hinge, and obviously staying very stable on our right side, right leg. So as we watch you draw the golf club back here, your hands come back well, turn in your shoulders a little. Looks like you're getting ready to sort of stand up out of your golf shot a little bit here, so the posture is changing. We get some good wrist hinge into play. Club head's working above and behind your hands, so that's terrific. And as we work this to the top, I like your arm position, good turn. You are buckling out on your right side a little bit, so your weight sort of fall into the outstep of your right foot. So something you want to learn to do is obviously learn how to stay a little bit more stable on your right side with the weight on the inside part of your right foot at the top of your backswing. Also reduce the activity in the left leg. It's creating unnecessary motion. Lower left side should really just give way to the fact that we're rotating. So the left knee should maybe kick in a little. The instep should roll in a little, but we don't necessarily have to bring the heel off the ground and get the knee moving as far forward as it is. The other thing we want to really pay attention to here is, with Chella, her spine is pretty much at, let's say, about a 64-degree angle at the top of her backswing. but it was also there to start with. So when we create this rotational movement, we're creating this rotational movement off of the axis that we achieve at address. Okay? If we take a look at your spinal axis right now, it's sitting here at about, let's say, 77. But we go down to the address position, we can see that it was certainly on a lot more of an angle. So you want to learn how to create that rotational movement. If we're going to start on red or even get a little bit more angled like I said initially, then we want to rotate maintaining that axis. We don't want to stand up while we're making a backswing, okay? Because obviously that's also going to have an influence on what happens to your head. So by you standing up into red, that's going to move your head way up and away from the golf ball. Okay, so that's a lot of elevation change in the backswing that definitely has to be corrected. Okay, because we're moving basically, as I said, from the yellow spinal position, head position, into this red position. So now we've got to now dive back down into there to obviously get back to the golf ball. Okay, from here as we create our transition back into the ball, simply want to move our weight from our right foot to our left. Want to fire the knees and the hips laterally to the target, unwind the core, and fire the hands. And in doing so, we want to make sure we're bringing the golf club from yellow back down on top of red, which is where that club originated. And that's exactly what we can see here with Chela Choi. The golf club is returning back to plane. And this right here is the main reason why we're going to produce straight golf shots. The club has to return back to plane in order to produce consistency. The other thing we can see here is the relationship between the lead forearm and the golf club, and what we can see is that the club head is remaining above and behind our hands coming into the hitting zone, and this is what's going to allow us to create a lot of power in the golf swing as well. Okay, with you as we create your transition back on the ball, let's see where we get to pre-impact. So we're going to watch it probably. So you really actually haven't dove down too much just yet, so that's pretty good. Right here, what we can see is if we take a look at your lead form and your golf club, this is great. So you are achieving your backwards check mark. And the other thing we see is that the club is doing a pretty good job getting pretty close back to plane. So if we just go ahead and track this club head, continue to come into the ball, let's see where you go in the next frame here. Let me change that to yellow. So the next frame. Perfect, beautiful. You're right on top of the plane here. Club head still above and behind your hands. Next frame. So this is really, really nice. This descending plane right here, this backwards check mark I'm showing you with Chela Choi, this is the single most important aspect of a golf swing. And we can see you're doing a pretty good job bringing this golf club back into the ball from a reasonably decent swing plane here. So you should be able to hit a fairly straight golf shot based on your alignment, unfortunately, which is a little bit too far to the right. So at this point in time now, your club face basically has to make sure that it squares up. Okay, so we're aiming out to the right, you're swinging the club on plane. Because we're swinging the club on plane, you have the ability to hit the ball straight based on that alignment. So if we're going to hit the ball straight, the problem is we're aimed out to the right. So if that club face doesn't over close, which it did there a little bit, that's good. So club face over releases, prevents the ball from going where you're aimed, and we can see the ball heading pretty much out towards the center of the fairway there. So that's wonderful. Okay, as you come through to a pretty decent finish. Maybe like you to sort of get fully up on the toe of your right foot, try and get those hips squared around more, rotate your shoulders more, and definitely try and get your hands a little higher. So if you can sort of just try and move yourself to that finishing position we see on the left side of the screen, shouldn't be that difficult because you already have 99% of the proper footwork in your right foot. So just fully get up on that toe and just, you know, learn to turn your hips a little bit more and your shoulders and try and finish with your hands a little bit higher. And that will just revise your finish for you. Overall, some really nice athleticism here from you. Your hands work really well. They come back, they fire through. Your core's working pretty decent. You coil, you uncoil. You got good enough footwork. It allows you to get through to a good finish. So it looks really, really nice. And the best thing about your golf swing is you're swinging the golf club pretty much on plane the entire time, which is superb. And this will allow you the ability to, you know, have some power and be able to hit the ball reasonably pretty straight. From a fine-tuning standpoint, yeah, you know what? Let's revise the posture a little bit, the starting position. From here, when we bring the golf club back, we want to create a rotational movement off of a posture axis, a spinal position that doesn't stand up. Ideally, when we get to the top of your backswing, obviously we'd like to maybe have a little bit more extension in the arms. The arms do compress to your core a little bit. And then from there, obviously with that rotation, maintaining your posture, let's reduce the unnecessary activity that's occurring sort of in your lower left side with your left knee and your left foot. And from there, you know, a little revisement in completing that finish would be ideal. But overall, really, really good job. Looks great. Anyway, any point in time you ever want to fine-tune any of these aspects of your golf game, I'm located over at Glen Abbey in Oakville. Be happy to structure a little program for you. Also, if you're involved with any golf tournaments at all, you guys are looking for a unique gift to give your guests, feel free to reach out. Be happy to discuss my swing analysis services. Anyways, again, hope you had a wonderful day, and I hope you enjoyed getting an opportunity to see your swing on video.